Hello there, it's Jeff here in the Idea Lab, and today I'm going to show you how to build your automatic Zen Garden kit. So let's look at what's in our package. So first we've got our big tray. This is what's going to hold the sand, and we're going to attach the motor to this and the feet and everything. So we've got that, and we've got our 3D printed feet there. Now your printed parts may be a different color from mine, but they all work the same. We've got a little stepper motor here. Very importantly, we've got our Arduino Nano. This is a microcontroller. So this is the sort of computer brain that's gonna regulate the speed of our stepper motor. We've got a USB cable. Yours is probably gonna be longer than mine. Probably a different color too. We've got our little motor controller. We've got our little wiper here. This has got the rake on one side that's going to rake grooves into the sand, and the wiper on the other side that's going to erase the grooves. We'll have a little bundle of these DuPont style jumper connectors. You'll have a little bag that's got some hardware in it. You're going to have 2 little nuts and 5 little bolts there. And importantly, you're also going to have a bag of sand. And you're going to need one thing, which is an Allen wrench for the nuts. And this is a 2.5 millimeter Allen wrench. Okay, let's get started. So first thing we're going to do is hook things up here to our tray. So let's start with the feet. This is pretty straightforward. We're just going to grab one of our bolts. Now you can see we've got our 3 holes around the outside. We're just going to start by feeding a bolt through the hole. You might have to push a little to get it started threading. Come on, let's get it started. There it goes. And then we're just going to go ahead and screw that all the way in. And we're going to push and turn so that we've got that bolt sticking out the bottom end of our tray. Then we can take a foot, and line the foot up there, and just thread that in place. Now to get it nice and tight, you're probably going to need to take your Allen wrench and just use that to hold the bolt steady, keep it from spinning in the hole, so you can tighten up your foot. Doesn't need to be super tight, just finger tight. And we're going to repeat that for the other 3 holes. So we'll start with this one. There we go. Looks good. And the last foot. Oh. There we go. So now we've got 3 nice little feet and the tray can balance there. The next thing we're going to do is attach our stepper motor here. And this goes in from the bottom side. You can see we've got 2 little screw holes there, and then our big hole where the motor plugs in. And the motor will only line up with the holes one way. So we're going to do the same thing that we did with the feet. We're going to take the bolts and start by feeding them in through the holes so that they're sticking out the bottom. There we go. See how the stepper motor just slips right on there. Now we're gonna take the little nuts and just get those threaded onto the bolts that are sticking out. These don't have to be particularly tight, but I am gonna grab a little pair of pliers and tighten them a little bit. Start by getting them on there. There we go. Get them as tight as I can with my fingers, and I'll just grab a pair of pliers here. Just give these a couple extra turns so that our motor's not rattling around. There we go. So that is nicely affixed there, and you can see the spindle coming up through the middle. So this is done for now. Next thing we're going to look at is our motor controller and our Arduino. Now if you look at the Arduino, I'm going to bring it up here closer to the camera. See, we've got all these little pins that are labeled. And there's a few pins here that are going to be important to us: D2, D3, D4, and D5. And also on the other side, we're looking for that second pin right there that says G and D, that's for ground. And then we go 2 pins over 5 volts. Here, I'll use something pointier. So that pin right there that says ground, and that pin right there that says 5 volts. And then again on the other side, we've got D2, D3, D4, and D5. So those are the pins in question that we're going to be working with. We're going to take our DuPont connectors here, and yours will probably be different colors. These come in a big ribbon, so we just peeled off 6 so that everybody gets 6. So what you're going to want to do is take the 2 on the end and separate those. So we've got 1 run of 2 and 1 run of 4. And basically what we want to have happen here is we're going to connect D2, D3, D4, and D5. The jumper legs that are sticking out the other side, these are going to plug into the jumper legs, and then the other end is going to connect to, on our motor controller, in 1, in 2, in 3, and in 4. So let's do that next. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to take our ribbons. Now mine are, focus, yellow, orange, red, and like brown. Yours will probably be in a different order, but as long as you do the same thing that I'm doing, but with your colors, then you'll be good to go. So we're going to take our Arduino, and we're going to start by locating pin D2. It's right where my thumbnail is there. And I'm going to start with the yellow connector for D2. I'm just going to fit that right onto the pin and press it down in place. So now I've got my yellow jumper connected to D2, and the jumper next to that is orange. So I'm going to fit the orange jumper into the pin for D3. There we go. My red jumper is going onto the pin for D4. There we go. And my brown jumper is going onto the pin for D5. So that's everything hooked up from the Arduino side there for the control pins. on the other side here, we've got in 1, in 2, in 3, and in 4. We're going to connect up the other ends there. So 5 is going to go to 1. So 5 is my brown jumper. That's going to connect to pin 1 on my motor controller. So pin 4 coming from the Arduino is going to go to pin 2 of the motor controller. There we go. Pin 3 is going to go to pin 3. And then lastly, we have the one remaining pin. There we go. So on our Arduino, we've got 2, 3, 4, and 5, focus, connected up to 1, 2, 3, and 4. If you have any trouble with this, it's possible that you just got them backwards so you can flip them around. There's 2 other jumpers we need to connect here, and that's for the voltage. So we're going to take our other 2 DuPont jumpers, and here on our motor controller, where are they? You can see we've got 5 volts minus and 5 volts plus. So I'm going to connect these leads up to here, and in my case I'm going to do the black lead for plus, which is positive, and the white lead for minus, which is negative. And then on my Arduino, I'm going to look over here at the other side. We're going to find that pin that's marked 5 volts. Where is it? That would be this pin right here for 5 volts. We're going to connect our positive lead up to that. 5 volts. There we go. And then our negative lead is going to connect to ground, which is that pin right there. There we go. So the motor controller and the Arduino are now connected. So now that we have our motor controller connected to our Arduino, we're going to go onto the computer, and we're going to program the Arduino with the code that will drive the motor controller. So let's switch over to the computer side of things. Okay, I'm here on the computer side of things. I've got my Arduino with me, and it's plugged into its USB cable, but I haven't plugged the USB cable into my computer yet. We're going to need that in a minute. So let's go to the internet. And we're going to first visit arduino.cc. And this is where we can get the software to program our Arduino. So we're going to go up to the top here and choose software. And then right here, we're going to choose Windows. Now, if I'm on a Macintosh computer or Linux, I would just choose those other options. Then I'm going to go ahead and click Just Download. And I've already done this, so I'm not going to click that right now, but you'll click Just Download, and that will download and install, or it will download the Arduino EXE, which we can use to install the program. The next website we're going to want to go to is baldwinlib.org/idealab. This is the Idealab webpage. And right up here at the top, you can see we've got click here to download code for the automatic Zen Garden kit. So when I click here, it takes me to this Google download page where I can just click download. And that will download the code file that I need. So once you've done that, in your computer's downloads folder, you'll have your motor controller. This is your Arduino file. And then you'll have this Arduino install exe. So we're going to go ahead and install this. We're going to give the computer permission to install the program. We're going to click I agree, choose the location, and here it's going to install. And this can take a minute, so I'm going to go ahead and just fast forward to the end. Okay,
here we go. We can see it's completed. And I'm just going to close out of this. And now you can see on my desktop, I've got the Arduino software there. So let's go ahead and open that up. And once it's booted up, we get our little window here. I'm going to make ours a little bigger so that we can actually see it. And we're going to go to File, Open. And we're going to choose that motor controller file that we downloaded earlier. Click Open. And here it's telling us that it wants to move that file into a folder of the same name. And yes, we want to click OK. And we can close this window in the back now. And we've got our motor controller right here is open. And this is the software that will program the Arduino to control the motor. So there's a few things we need to check before we proceed. First of all, we're going to go up here to Tools. And we're going to see here where we see Board. We want to make sure that Arduino Nano is chosen. Long list of different things, but we want Arduino Nano. Under Processor, we want to make sure we've got the old bootloader selected. And under Programmer, we want to make sure we've got Arduino as ISP. So if this is your first time installing the Arduino software, you may notice that these options are different on your computer, but we want to go ahead and change them all to Arduino Nano for the board, the old bootloader for the processor, and Arduino as ISP for the programmer. The next thing we want to look at here is port. Now, I don't have any USB devices currently plugged into my computer, so this option is grayed out. But if you have anything plugged into your computer via USB, like a mouse or a keyboard or an external drive or something, you'll see options in here like that say COM1 or COM3. Open that up and just see what your COM options are, but don't choose anything yet. And just take note of what options are there. Now, we can take and plug in our Arduino via USB. We're going to plug it right into our computer. And after a few moments, when we go back to Tools, Port, you can see now mine has selected COM5. And you'll want to check, if you already had USB devices plugged into your computer, you'll want to make sure that when you plug in the Arduino, the new option that appeared, that's the one you choose. And in my case, it's COM5. So now what I'm going to do is go over here to this little arrow button right here, and I'm going to click Upload. And down here we can see it's going to compile my sketch, meaning basically it's writing my code into a software package. And then as soon as it's done with that, it's going to upload. You can see it says uploading, and now it's done uploading. Boom, it's that easy. I can go ahead and unplug my Arduino from USB, and now it is ready to program the motor. And we can go back to the real world.
Okay, we've got our Arduino programmed now, and you can see how the motor connector coming from the motor on our tray will plug into the motor controller, and it'll only go one way. You've got little tabs there on the connector coming off the motor, and you've got little slots in the port on the motor controller, and those just kind of snap in place like that. And we'll take our little wiper. You can see we've got a groove there, and we've got the sort of rectangular shape of the shaft on our motor. So those will press together like that, and we'll just make sure everything's working. So I've got my USB cord, and it's plugged into a USB charger over here. And when I connect up my Arduino after successfully programming it, we'll plug it in, we'll see the motor start to spin. The motor will start to spin. And you can see the LEDs on the motor controller furiously blinking, indicating that everything's working great. Now at this point you can just dump in your sand, but what I found is when I have my wiper installed in the tray, before putting in the sand, little grains of sand get down into the groove between the shaft of the wiper and the hole in the tray, and the grains of sand bind up, and they keep the thing from spinning. So what I found works best for me, you know, your mileage may vary, is to actually put the sand in the tray first, and then press the motor controller down onto, or press the wiper down onto the shaft. So let's try that. I'm going to open up our bag of sand. Now this should be just about the right amount of sand. I'm going to start with almost all of it. There we go. I'm going to keep a little bit in the bag in case I need to add some more later. I'm just going to kind of shake this down. And then right there in the middle, there's my shaft sticking out. I can take my wiper, press it down onto the motor shaft, kind of make sure that both ends are balanced. And now we'll plug in the Arduino to our USB power supply, and then we should see everything working beautifully. There it goes. Very zen. So I hope you have fun putting together your automatic Zen garden, and I hope it brings you much enjoyment as the fascinating piece of kinetic art that it is. And just so you know, I'm not sure if I mentioned this earlier, but links to the code to download the Arduino software, the code that programs the Arduino, and all that stuff is on the Idea Lab website. Pretty sure I mentioned that earlier, but just in case, you can find all the code you need on the site. Enjoy your automatic Zen garden, and we'll see you next time.